Hello everybody, so it's time for another scary video, and I was going to do the story about the doppelganger or the doppelgangers or whatever, because for some reason that's just always really creeped me out, but I couldn't find a really good story for it that explained too much of what I wanted it to explain, so I was just kind of going randomly, and I found this story about Hello Kitty. Now this is a scary story. So this is still going to be a scary video. If you're into Hello Kitty like myself, then this is just the story for you. I'm really excited for this story. I've heard about it, but I haven't really actually read the story. So this is the story of the Hello Kitty murder. In 1999, a 14-year-old girl walked into a police station complaining of being haunted by a woman in her apartment. On investigation, the police found a woman's skull stuffed into a Hello Kitty mermaid doll. Soon, a disturbing crime came to light, a story of a sick and twisted torture. May 1999, 14-year-old Ah Fong, name changed, walked into a police station in the Japanese can't pronounce area of Hong Kong. She told the attending officers that she was being haunted by the ghost of a young woman she had helped torture. A fairly far-fetched story, ghosts and torture, but still the officers followed up on Fong's story. When they investigated a third-floor flat located in the middle of the Japanese can't pronounce shopping district, they found every indication of a shocking crime. There was evidence of a corpse hidden about the apartment, parts of internal organs kept in the fridge, and some teeth were located. Most shocking of all was the discovery of a human skull found in a large stuffed Hello Kitty mermaid toy. 3 men and Fong were arrested, and soon the full scale of the horrific crime came to light. The victim was 23-year-old Fan Manyi. I hope I'm saying her name right. Also known as IMAP, had been left to a girl's home as a child after being abandoned by her parents. By the time she was 16, she had turned to a life of small crimes, sex for sale, and various addictions. She worked the assorted clubs and district of Hong Kong, and many of her clients were known in the various circles of the Chinese underground societies. IMAP met 34-year-old Chan Man-lok in 1997, at one of the various brothels. He became a regular client and had violent tendencies when he was on one of his many meth binges. It must have been after one of these violent outbursts that IMAP felt she did not want to see Chan again. Unfortunately, she made a mistake. She stole his wallet, which contained $4,000. Although she did pay back the money and $10,000 in interest, Chan still wanted more. IMAP was unable to pay the extra $16,000 Chan demanded. So on 17th March 1999, Map was located and abducted from her home by 2 of Chan's accomplices. I'm not even going to try to say their names because IMAP had now entered a world of depravity, torture, and eventually death. During the investigation and trial, I Fong, the 14-year-old girl who led police to the crime, gave intricate details on what horrors IMAP went through over the next month leading up to her death. She was there for the entire event. She was Chan's girlfriend. Originally, Chan had abducted IMAP in order to hold her and work her, taking all of her earrings until the debt had been repaid in full. However, with the repeated beatings Map suffered, no one really wanted to pay for the services, so Chan and his 2 friends used her as a personal plaything instead. At first, the torture was limited to repeated beatings, first with bare hands, but soon this escalated into hitting her with furniture and then metal bars. They would force Map to smile, laugh, and say how happy she was during the beatings. If she didn't, the beatings would get worse. Between the beatings, she would be left in the kitchen while the trio would continue on their meth binges and play video games. When the games got boring, they would revisit IMAP and continue to torture her. They found uses for every kitchen appliance or item of food kept in the fridge and in the cupboards. At times, they would melt plastic onto her body, and then running out of things to melt, they would just burn her directly, followed by smearing different foods into the wounds in some sort of sick experiment in pain. Torturers soon discovered it was easier to get to Map if she was suspended, so using electrical cabling, they tied her to a hook in the ceiling and between bolts to leave her hanging in the air. The torturing got worse and worse, and from here I'll leave out the details, as to be honest, their sick ingenuity does not need to be further written about. Eventually, and no doubt mercifully, after a month of extreme torture, Map passed away. She had been left in the bathroom and died during the night. The torturers could not work out what to do, so they went back to playing their video games. The following day, after another all-night binge, Chan decided that Map needed to be further destroyed. She was placed into the bathtub, where she was dismembered. Her parts were boiled down in an effort to cover the smell. The head was stripped of all flesh and placed into the Hello Kitty doll. As Chan and his associates were boiling body parts on one hot plate, they would be preparing their own meals on the other, at times using the same utensils in both. Although most of the parts of Map's body were disposed of, there were some remains left in the flat when the police started their investigation, along with the head and the Hello Kitty doll, from which the crime received its name. After the trial, the three men were handed life sentences with no review for parole, for a minimum of 20 years. Although the testimony from Fong was found to be sound and the evidence found in the flat spoke volumes, the three men were only convicted of manslaughter and unlawful imprisonment. The jury found that the men had not killed Map with intent, but was rather just an effect of the continual abuse. Before the apartment block where the crime took place was demolished, it became a ground for many people who wanted to make contact with the spirit of Map. People who visited the flat, specifically the kitchen, say that many candles could be found burning in small circles on the floor and on the cupboards. When Map died, she left behind a 1-year-old son. Fong was asked how they could all take part in such a horrific crime. She replied, "She was broken, and playing with her wasn't so much fun after that, but we carried on anyway. There wasn't anything else to do. I did it for fun, just to see what it was like to hurt someone." For her testimony, Fong received total immunity for prosecution. Wow, is all I can say. Oh my gosh. This isn't even really that scary of a story to me as much as it is sad. Like, this story is just like really sad. Like, I honestly did not know how sad the story was gonna be until like after I read it. That was my first time ever actually reading the story. Even though this wasn't really a scary story, like I still find it kind of creepy that they dismembered her and they did all of those sick, horrible things to her. Everything about it is creepy to me. And it's also very sad at the same time. I feel very sorry for her, and nobody should have to go through any of that stuff. I hope that you guys enjoyed this, even though it was more of a sad story than it was scary. I've always kind of been into stories like this. Like, I'm into like the whole like murder stories and different things like that. It's not that I'm a sick person. It's just that I've always been into certain stories like that. I don't know why. It's just always interested me for some reason. I think aside from scary stories, like murder stories and stuff, and like figuring out what the people did, like that's kind of like my second favorite type of story. I'm making sense, but anyways, I hope you guys like this video, and I will see you guys next time.